Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to quickly give my thoughts on the Arknight's Enfield Gacha system, my worries for it, and explain why others may see it negatively. Now, I will say, if you were to make the poll income equivalent in Enfield as compared to some of these other big gachas that a lot of people play currently of like HSR, ZZZ, and WUA, then its gacha system would easily be the best. Okay? I just want to get that straight out of the way. The way the Endfield gacha system works, at least for the character banner, is that from 0 to 79 pity, your pity actually can carry over. However, the second you go over this mark and you hit 80 plus, that's where things change, right? So you hit 80 and you hit a guaranteed 6-star pity, right? Now, this does not mean guaranteed of the character you want. At this 80 pity mark, you will still have to deal with a 50-50, and if you lose, the only way you can get a guaranteed is if you put in 40 more pulls to hit the 120 mark, right? Now, in a lot of cases, this is a better system than these other games. However, there are some flaws to it, which obviously a lot of Gamba addicts that play these gachas, cough cough me, would end up not liking so much. So for example, if you end up getting an early 50-50 loss, then you are incentivized to go all the way to the 120 pity mark, because otherwise you will lose out on your guarantee, because it only lasts for that banner, which is really stinky, right? It's really stinky. So the game incentivizes people to actually save up 120 pulls if they ever want to guarantee a character absolutely no matter what, right? So now that I've kind of gotten that system out of the way and you guys can understand it a little better, here's where my issue comes in with this game's, gacha system and what people aren't talking about enough. The problem with this game isn't only its gacha system being pretty complicated for a lot of people to understand, but mainly its pull income, okay? If this game, once again, has the same pull income as the 3 games I mentioned earlier, ZZZ, WUWA, and HSR, then it would be phenomenally better as compared to these other ones. Technically, with 120 pulls, you always guarantee 2 6-stars or the equivalent of 5 stars as in WUWA and HSR. So that's 60 pity per 5-star. That is really, really good. And that is the worst case scenario, right? On top of this, I do believe limited characters are added onto the standard banners, or at least a 50-50 loss pool in Arknights, meaning you can lose to other limited characters, which could possibly end up being beneficial as well. The game has a lot of things that are good for it, but if its pull income is, let's say, 50 to 60 pulls every single patch, that shit sucks, okay? And this is where it ends up being a worse system than probably WUWA, because, for example, currently the average pulls per patch for WUWA, averaged out, it's currently like 105 to 110, right? So even though in WUWA you need to go like 160 pulls, worst case scenario, more realistically because of soft pity, around 140 to guarantee a character, you actually get a high amount of pulls to kind of make up for this. This doesn't really count in Enfield. You'd have to save, if let's say the pull income is 50 to 60 pulls every single patch, you'd have to save 2 patches in a row to guarantee a single character. However, with WUWA's average pull count, you'd be able to get more than a guaranteed limited character in within 2 patches, right? If anything, you could probably get a guaranteed limited character and nearly guarantee the weapon all at the same time. On top of this, Wuwa has things like sequence shops that can make older characters last way longer, and obviously their increased pull count means you can get more coral for things like that. There's also these other games like ZZZ and HSR who also have decently high pull counts, but I'm mentioning Wuwa here because of the three, they have the best pity system with a guaranteed weapon banner, right? So all of this is to say, even though Arknight's Endfield gacha system is very beneficial, especially to people who may be used to having incredibly bad luck with 50-50 losses in gacha games, the reality is whether or not it's better than other games' gachas is fully dependent on the game's pull income and not its system, right? Anything can sound really good with a really solid system, but if the pull income is underwhelming, it doesn't matter. It still could be basically the same, if not worse, as compared to other games. Bleach Soul Resonance is the only gacha game I've played recently that doesn't have any bullshit gacha system and also gives a very significant amount of pulls per patch over there, right? For reference, Bleach Soul Resonance has max 40 pity on the weapon banner, which is really solid. And then on top of this, the character banner is max 80 pity. And both of these limited banners are guaranteed no matter what, right? And the pull income in Bleach Soul Resonance is pretty significant. It's like 80 plus pulls every single patch. And that alongside the game's gacha system is absolutely phenomenal. So Endfield, I'd say, would probably have to give at least like 70 to 80 pulls per patch to be competitive with these other games, right? Like on an even playing field, I'd say. That is kind of a good spot considering how solid their system is. However, of course, as most people would hope, they'd probably want something more like 80 to 90 pulls, maybe even the 3-digit mark, but I do think that's a little unrealistic. From what I've heard and seen, you know, just scrounging around people who have played the CBT for Arknights, if I had to assume its pull income will probably be 25 to 30% weaker as compared to things like HSR, ZZZ, and Wuwa, right? So this means they give around the 60 to 70 mark in pulls average per patch instead of the massive like 100 plus in these other games. If it's worse than this, then it's kind of chopped, right? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I may try Endfield. Yes, you can see I downloaded it over here. Does not mean I'm going to play it or make content on it. I want to give it a shot, okay? I want to see how things end up going. However, no guarantees, right? Already playing so many goddamn gachas. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out. I just realized I'm like 10 seconds off of being able to monetize this video and hit the 8-minute mark, so yeah, I kind of just wasted an extra 10 seconds of your time for no reason. Thanks for that. Peace out.